Welcome to the Dream Council podcast. My name is Desmond Delaghetto,
And my name is David Kong.
and this is episode 11 of Drive Council Radio.
On this episode, we have Juicebox Abel and The Answer here to talk about Evo 2012.
Coming up next on Drive Council Radio, the official podcast for DreamCouncil.com. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. How are you doing, David Kong?
I'm good, man. Just trying to recover from this Ebola virus.
Word, yeah, I heard it was like mad hype, man, at Evo. I was watching from the stream, but three of y'all have been there. I know it's been hype.
Oh, it was incredible, man. And we'll talk all about it with our guests. Before we get into that, though, why don't we update the listeners on some of the stuff that's been happening with the website?
Yeah, for sure. First things first, the creator of Dream Council, Neil Cam, he is going to be stepping down and giving administrative duties to myself and Kane 317, or I like to call Kane 317. And
All right.
yes, much respect to Neil Cam for creating the site, and he'll be with us, maybe for maybe a month or two to help out with more technical stuff. But I really want to thank him for creating and opening up the site for us. And yeah, he's a very good guy. He posted a little farewell letter on the site, so go ahead and check it out. Wish him farewell. I think he's gonna finish up school or go back to school to get his bachelor's. But
Yeah, man.
yeah.
Shout outs to Neil Cam. This guy's like totally legit. I remember when I first joined Dream Council, he was like super active all over the place, like trying to get everything organized, and he was just super hype about building the KOF scene in America. And now that we have that's awesome. It's these are like the fruits of his labor. So shout outs to Neil Cam. Wish
Yeah.
you the best in the future, man.
Yeah, he's a hardworking guy. Yeah, for real. So what else? Let's see. We have we got an interview with MLG. Myself and Gunsmith talking with Carlos and Arturo Sanchez from MLG. So go ahead and check it out. It's a pretty informative interview for those that are curious about KOF being at MLG. And also, let's see. I think this upcoming weekend on the 21st, we're doing the online tournament for KOF XIII for PSN and Xbox Live users. The first to 10 sessions held by Solid Shark. It'll be up at the Chat Tango plugin embedded box that we have on the front page. And I know a lot of people have been using that lately, and especially for Evo, because we had the embedded link on the front page. So I think that provided a lot of people some good chat time. And,
Yeah, man.
And also, I think with the chat box, there's one rule now. It's you can't post up any links anymore. It's like it's going to be blocked off because we had some spam issues. So hopefully that will kind of knock it all out. And I think that's about it for the site news. Except we recently got some frame data for Leona and Kensu. So check it out in the wiki. It might surprise you or it might not surprise you. So go ahead and check it out when you have the chance. But I think that's about it for all the site news for the moment.
All right, awesome. So then in that case, we'll go right into talking about Evo 2012. Our two guests today both got top 32 in the tournament, and I'm sure they're all pretty much household names in the KOF community as of right now. We have joining us today Mr. Juicebox, Abel, and The Answer. How you doing, guys?
I'm doing good. How about you, Answer?
I'm doing great. Very happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And, obviously, I just mentioned both you guys were at Evo this year. And so, first off, what did you guys think? How were your experiences?
You can go first, Answer.
I'm super thrilled. I'm very happy of the way everything turned out. A little sad because, Bala didn't win first place, but still, it was really hype. It was just a memorable moment in the history of KOF in the US, and maybe not just the US, in the world, because it was the first world tournament for King of Fighters.
Yeah,
So,
man, I totally feel you. Like, it was amazing. And I'm so on the same page. Like, I almost cried when Bala lost. Like, no lie. It was so emotional.
Yeah, I'm sure nobody saw that coming. At least not from Matt KOF. I'm sure a lot of people were concerned about Kaoru, about Gyabetsu, and the Taiwanese player, but nobody saw Matt KOF making it that far. Especially since the previous night or 2 days before, we defeated the Korean team 20-9 on a teams tournament. So no one saw that coming. So complete shocker there.
Yeah, definitely. It was it was insane, and definitely a page in the history books. Juicebox, how was your experience this past weekend?
Woo! It was emotional for me too. I mean, just this being my first KOF game, putting a lot of effort into it and seeing, how much it's grown. The KOF chant, KOF, KOF, like that. Like I really was tearing up. Screw you guys who didn't tear up. I really was. And it was a powerful moment for me. I did a lot better than I thought I would. I did not think I would get top 32. But I'm really excited for KOF at this point. I've gotten on my personal stream, I've gotten hundreds more viewers interested in learning KOF, and I'm doing my best to teach them all. So I really think that now is a really great time to grow the game because the interest is, as good as it's ever going to get. Sites like Dream Cancel and everyone else, it's really important that, we do all we can because the time for KOF is now.
That is true. This is a very important moment for to grow the community. I know a lot of people are thinking, okay, yeah, break time, but I know I am taking a little break. But right now, these are key moments where we can get a lot more followers, a lot more people to join the community and start playing the game, especially after all the hype around it. I mean, in all honesty, KOF was the hypest game at Evo. Not
I will totally
Normal
agree.
was pretty hype. Yeah, Street Fighter 4 was just honestly, it was a little boring. And then the other, KOF. I mean, you had people chanting, you had people screaming KOF, KOF. I mean, it was everything I ever dreamed of. How a world KOF tournament would turn out to be. It was just memorable for me. It was exciting. Oh my god, I have no words to describe.
Yeah, from watching the stream, it felt like I was watching the World Cup, dude. It sounded like a soccer match or something,
Yeah, dude, it got so hyped. Some of the chanting was amazing, and some of the other chanting was not so amazing. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But Desmond, like looking at the stream, like how was it? Like because I've seen just like Oscar and Juicebox said, like a lot of people who were in attendance and also watching the stream have made comments on Twitter and Facebook and SRK just saying that like, oh my god, KOF was like the main event at Evo this year. Like what's your opinion on that? Do you feel like it was really the hypest event of the entire tournament?
Yeah, it was. It definitely felt that it was like the hypest event there. I think the whole build up beforehand, the announcement of the game and people talking about getting the T-shirts and all this stuff like that, and the hype tournaments a couple months beforehand, I felt really just built it up, just so much that it just kind of just like came out into like a frenzy, at Evo, especially in the top 8. So yes, I do believe that it was just so hype. All the other games that was happening before and after it, in my opinion, it just didn't measure up to the level of hype KOF13 was, and I'm glad it did. I'm glad that it finally, it took this game to get this measure of hype, at Evo, because we've been waiting for a while, especially for those that have been playing other KOF games. I mean, I'm glad it finally happened, and I'm looking forward to seeing it grow much more. Not even just at Evo, for these other upcoming tournaments as well, and for people playing, in their own respective local scenes that want to travel out. We just gotta keep building it if we're gonna get more and more hype, in the future.
Yeah, definitely, man. This is definitely a great time for the entire community. Now, I do want to ask Juicebox and Oscar about this whole. Obviously, we all know, like going into Evo for a couple months, there's been this whole discussion of shirt monsters, and people were saying like, "Oh my God, out of 1,000 people, there's probably going to be like eight or 900 shirt monsters," But I just want to ask you guys: did you guys have any people not show up to your pools? Because personally, I didn't get a single buy in my pools. I had to play every single one of my matches against people who were there to play.
Me too. I had no buys.
Yeah, same here. I had no buys.
I think it should also be said that when it comes to, quote, shirt monsters, unquote, they're interested in the game, and that's what's important. The community isn't completely made of top players. So if people bought the shirt not knowing what King of Fighters 13 was or anything, and then they were at their pool, they saw the game and got interested, I mean, that's a bigger community right there. So it's not really going to be... It's not a negative thing, in my opinion.
Oscar, what are your thoughts on that?
You know what? I've heard that a lot of people were just joining because of the shirt. I believe that we had 1,072 people who registered, and I was looking at the numbers of people who actually showed up. It was something like 800 and something players that actually showed up to compete in their pool. So, in my opinion, that's a pretty large number. I know it's like 200 players who didn't show up at all, and those players were actually the ones that I heard that didn't show up to their pool. It was players like Justin Wong and Flo. Yeah, and Flo. I remember one of my friends from Tijuana. He had Justin Wong in his pool, and the day before Evo, he was a little worried. He's like, "Oh my God, I had to play Justin. What should I do?" I'm like, "Dude, don't even worry about it. You got this. You got this." Comes the day of the tournament, Justin doesn't even show up. They just DQ him throughout the practice.
Yeah, you heard it here first, everybody. Justin Wong is a shirt monster.
Sure. But I guess
man.
he was focusing in his other events. He really
Oh,
wanted
obviously.
to win.
I'm just kidding.
Hey,
Obviously,
yeah.
Justin's a great player.
In
and,
his defense, in his defense. But you know what? It's okay. It made for a bigger event, and probably they signed. I'm thinking maybe some players signed up for KOF just for the shirt at the beginning. But once they were there, they're like, "What the hell? Why not? Why not compete? I'm already there. Why not have a few games of fun? And who knows what it could happen?" And I'm thinking that's what ended up happening there.
With that said, though, I do want to talk about the top 32, which is listed on SRK for those of you who haven't seen it. And I just want to remark on how incredibly expected the top 32 is. Like, every single player in the top 32 I've heard of to some degree, Like, I don't see any surprises here. Just starting from the bottom, I'm just going to recap it. We got Juicebox, awesome. And we got TC Pepe, TC Chris KOF, Kusanagi from Mexico, Payne from NorCal, Raul, but that's not TC the Beast. I'm guessing I'm not really sure who Raul is actually. But then we have Uepu, Haitani, Ricardo Diaz, Ferron from France, Rai Rai, Cannibalizzo, Karu, The Answer, shout out to The Answer, Mr. KOF, Mago, top 16, we got BBZ, Fox, Punko, TC the Beast, Tokido, El Rosa, Kiabetsu, Zero Black, and of course everyone knows top 8, we got the 4 Korean players from Cafe ID, or Cafe ID rather, Reynold, Romance, Bala, and the champion Mad KOF. So what do you guys think of this top 32 in terms of like the skill that's represented and like all the different communities that are represented from like an international scene?
Well, you're right. I mean, every single player besides Raul I've heard of before. So I guess that does represent how KOF is played. That if you're a dedicated player, you're most likely to stay consistent in tournament results.
I should probably bone up a little bit on my knowledge of the international players because I'm really, really focused on like the SoCal scene and such. But when I look at that list, what I see is people who have been playing KOF a long time and people who understand King of Fighters 13 really well. The sort of players that I would like to beat at some point in the future. And really, me personally, if you know me, you know that the reason that I like King of Fighters is because it really shows you who the better player is. And so, just seeing those results play out like that, I really feel like it was a fair assessment. I really don't think that anybody's going to say, man, I should have won that match and I should have got a place higher or this and that and the other. Like, we're not really going to get much of that because KOF is just the way it is. And, shout outs to Mad KOF for winning and everyone else in the top 32. I think it was just a really excellent tournament.
But with that being said, Juicebox, you're probably one of the handful of players in the top 32. I'm thinking, actually, it's probably like only 2 people who I can think of on the top of my head that are in top 32 that are not long-term KOF players. You and Rai Rai.
Yeah.
And, how do you feel? Making top 32, and then every other single name you see in the list, it's a well-known player who's been playing for a long time.
Well, I'll be honest. I feel pretty proud, honestly.
Moving on up, dude.
Honestly, yeah, you should be. Yeah.
I did better than I thought. My king did better than I thought, particularly against Verna. Really, I really just think it speaks to my knowledge of the game. I don't know a lot of super specific stuff, not yet, but I'm getting there. And but I've done most of this work more or less alone, just at home in training mode, watching videos, trying to understand the theory of it, and just getting a couple matches here and there when I travel the country for other stuff, like for MLG or for the other tournaments on the road to Evo. And so, having all that done, my next goal is to, spend a week or maybe 2 weeks in a row in SoCal and just continue leveling up that way, because I feel as though if I continue training, that by next year's Evo, top 16 is not out of the question.
Wow.
Not out of the question. Still really difficult, but it's the sort of goal I'm setting for myself. My current goal is beat Chris G and Rai Rai. That's my current goal, because I don't really know how good they are. I know what place they got at Evo, but I want to be better than them, and then I can focus on beating people like Answer and Bala and those people.
You can do whatever you set your mind to, man.
Yeah, man. True that. And but one thing that's so hard about, like, I got top 64. I managed to make it out of my pools, but just from that position onwards, it's like I feel like it gets exponentially harder to get to the next level. Like it's so hard to beat somebody else who's in the running for top 32. It's even harder to beat somebody else who's in the running for top 16. Like, I just feel like the skill gap, like, it's like it just never gets easier. In fact, it just exponentially gets harder. At least that's how I felt.
Cool. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, it's funny because we had to play each other on the first round of the quarterfinals.
Yeah, we did. And that match was, good games, man. You beat me fair and square.
How was that match? I think I wanted to see that one.
It was 2-0. At least I didn't get OCV'd.
That's right. Silver lining.
But you know what? Let's be honest. I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, the pools. Oh, you made it out of your pool. It's okay, whatever." And some people are just looking forward to making it out of their pools. And I don't know. I think that the real tournament started on Saturday.
I think it definitely depended on what pool you were in. Like, some people had really relatively easier pools, like me. Like, no lie, I had some players in my pool who were fairly inexperienced. The only hard match really I had to play was in winners finals of my pool. I played against a French player who was actually pretty good. And all his French buddies were behind him, like, supporting him in French, stuff like that, getting hyped. So that was one match that was kind of challenging. But other than that, and then other people had really hard pools. Other people had, like, pools with 3 or 4 killers in them, and they had like for instance, really good players like TC Stolen Hope didn't make it out of pools.
Oh my god, that is true. He didn't even make it out of his pool.
Yeah, and he lost to Ferron from France, and then he lost to Chaotic Blue, who's another SoCal player. So that's just a legitimately good pool, and it's hard to make it out of. So it's Evo, though. It'll always happen like that.
Another pool that I can think of, it's the one with Kusanagi, Fuberduck, and I believe it was Hell Pockets.
Yeah.
I remember they were both talking about each other, like, oh, I gotta beat Fuberduck, I gotta beat Hell Pockets. They're like just thinking about each other. And out of nowhere, Kusanagi beat both of them, and he made out of his pools and winners. I was like, whoa, That's a little upset. Another upset, Mr. KOF. He made it out of his pool, but on the loser side, he was
Yeah, he
defeated
lost to
by
Zero
Zero
Black from
Black.
Chile.
Yeah.
And that was definitely one of the matches of the tournament because Mr. KOF in quarterfinals actually in losers had to fight against Zero Black again and lost again. And I remember the
Yeah.
entire Chilean crew that was there were just going nuts,
Whoa,
man. Like
yeah.
they had these chants and it was super hype.
And it
Yeah.
always sucks to lose to the same guy twice.
Well,
In my
that's
pool-
probably one of the worst things that could happen to somebody in a tournament. And even at a major, I mean, you have 1,000 people who signed up, you have 800 who show up, but you have to play and lose to the same guy twice. It's unbelievable. That is unreal. That's one
And
of
it
the
sucks
worst
when
case
the bracket
scenarios.
works out that way.
Yeah.
Totally. I think one of the outstanding performances of the weekend, though, was definitely by BBZ from NorCal, who ended up getting within top 16. And, he beat players like Haitani and some really other, very well-known players. And this guy is just straight up, like, from NorCal. He's been in the scene for less than, a couple years. And he just really came to play, man. Like, that was one of my favorite performances of the weekend. Did you guys have any players who really, in your eyes, like, did very, very well?
Yeah, I would like to say El Rosa from Mexico. He made it to, I think, also top 16. I think he made it to top 9 or something. He was one match away from making top 8 too. He eliminated Daco. He eliminated Ricardo. He eliminated another Japanese player, and he came out of his pool in losers. So he had to play a ton more players, and then for him to make it all the way back to top 9, top 16, that's an outstanding achievement in my opinion.
Yeah, that is excellent. Juicebox, what about you, man?
Man. Well, shout outs to me. Nah, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Respect that, though.
As far as the people that got really far, I mean, I was really happy to see that Reynald, Bala, and Romance, all three of them made top 8. That, in my opinion, just sort of solidifies like the world-class competition you have in SoCal. And it's the sort of thing that really it's really important to me to know that the players that I'm following are really, really good and on that level. And now I know I need to watch more Korean stuff. I know Mad KOF has been putting on hours and hours of online matches in the past. But I'll be honest, as far as, all the names in the top 32, I'm not really familiar with most of them, so I feel kind of out of place, commenting on too many of them.
For sure. Well, what about you, Desmond, watching from the stream? Were there any, like, matches that were especially hype, like, for the stream viewers?
I think going back, I was really impressed by BBZ's Shin. That was it was crazy, man. And the weird thing about it is I caught the last moments of it when he had him in that block string when he was in HD mode.
Oh.
I don't remember what I was doing, but I heard so much hype, and I thought you were commentating, David, but you were like on the side or whatever. He was like, "That's
I was
so
just
sick."
flipping out, man. I was just yelling during that, dude. It was so much.
Yeah,
oh my
dude.
God, it's so cool.
And I was like, "Oh man, what happened? What happened?" And then I think I saw I think archive of it, and I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." So after watching BBZ on like the Southtown Rambats or whatever from like last year, he definitely improved. His shin is crazy. But yeah, I think that match pretty much. I thought that really impressed me there.
Totally, man. And the funny thing is, like, I remember watching that match. I was like probably a couple feet away from the commentary station. I was just watching the match from the side, and I remember seeing him activate HD, and I was like, wait, what the hell is he doing? He obviously blocked. And then he's like, he continues. I was like, oh, wait a second. Is he gonna go for that combo nods guard break thing? And he does, right? And I was just I stopped paying attention at that point because I thought it was like, oh my God, it's like the hypest thing. But then when you watch the replay, you'll see that after he guard breaks Haitani, he goes for a command grab. So this isn't a real combo. Like, Haitani could have jumped out of that.
No,
and he just, he was just so guard broken, like mentally guard broken, that he just didn't react to it. Like, and, even BBZ was saying later on, like, yeah, it was actually kind of gimmicky. Like, if he had jumped out of there, like, he wouldn't have died.
Was he able to jump out? I don't think he was able to jump out. He was still in recovery. Because after you
I don't
guard break
know.
somebody, they stay there for a good second or so.
Yeah, they do, and then you can just like run in and hit them or whatever while they're
Yeah,
kind of like stunned.
I'm sure that grab combo or was part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, man, because BBZ himself was saying that it wasn't. So maybe it doesn't look like a combo in the video, but maybe we should go and take another look at that.
I'm in the lab tonight. I want to see that.
Yeah. Hey, there was another match that I really liked on Saturday. I think it was Reynolds versus Bala.
Ooh,
Yes, that match was so close.
Yeah, that was great. I loved it, man. I might have to find the archive for that one, but I think that was like the match of the whole, like, in my opinion, of the whole like Evo weekend. Even though it was on a Saturday, it was just so hype, dude. I loved it, man. We were just going nuts in the chat from that match. And
Reynolds was so angry after that too. He was just like, "Oh man, I can't believe I dropped that combo." Like, he nails the game-winning HD and just drops it right in the middle.
Yeah, I remember that, dude. He almost had it, dude. I was rooting for him. All respect to Bala, but I always root for Reynolds, man. I always just want him to get him. You know what I'm saying? But that match was just great. I can't wait to check out the archive if I can find it.
For sure. And in top 8, I want to talk about some of these matches as well. I just find it extremely impressive that out of the 4 positions in top 8, we have 4 Koreans who all are part of the same team. They train together. These KOFXIII players, they came over and they just showed us all that they were all incredibly strong. Juicebox, you played against Verna yourself. How did that match go?
The first match was I beat his duel on point with my king. But after that, basically, let's see here. What did he use again? He actually did not. Yeah, basically his Kim came out second, and he started to destroy me. I have sort of a mental block against Kim because I have trouble anti-airing his CD for one. It's also difficult for King to do it without meter and such. But his Kim did lots of really good frame traps on me and ended up destroying most of my team. The second game, his Duelon did a little bit better. If I remember correctly, he did win that 2-0, but really it was his Kim doing most of the work in those matches, and that's a problem that I have. His Duelon was impressive to me, but fortunately that matchup feels pretty even as far as King Duelon goes.
Okay. So in the end, it was fairly close, though.
I would say it felt that way for most of the 2 games, but he capitalized on a lot of jump-ins. He did a lot of damage off of his combos, and I didn't really have the opportunity to go on offense much against his Kim. His Kim had really good defense or just really good offense, either way. I really was not very good against his Kim. I would say overall, though, I'm not too far behind him. I just have a Kim problem.
Dude, I think it's awesome that like most of the KOFXIII players were using Kim as if it's they're from Korea.
Korea,
and they're Korean character.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
That's so cool, man. Oh man, but Oscar, how you unfortunately had to lose to 2 other SoCal players, right?
Yeah, I had to play against Romance and Row.
For sure, and both. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind losing against them. It's just I would have rather played against an international player or foreign player, and say, hey, you know what? At least I took a shot at this guy or whatever. But no, I had to play against Romance first, and he sent me 2 losers, and then Roll.
For sure, man. Yeah, it's always kind of funny to travel somewhere and lose to somebody you play against every other week.
Yeah.
But hey, man, next year, that's just how Evo goes. But I actually did play against an international player. After I lost to you, I had to play against Karu.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, that was pretty bad. He bodied me really hard. The video's on YouTube as well if you guys want to look that up. But yeah, man, overall wow, what a tournament. And I do want to bring up one thing which was actually said recently by Aram Jabari, who is nice enough. Aram Jabari, of course, representing Atlas. he sent over a little message to Dream Council. It's on our front page. And he says, quote unquote, "For myself, witnessing the rise of King of Fighters at Evo was a thrill. For the people who've been working hard in the KOF community for so many years, it must have been something much more. Truly, it was a moment that couldn't have come without the dedication." And I just thought that was so cool for him to recognize, just because, like, I mean, I'm sure you can shed some more light on this, Oscar, but, you know, like, ever since 13 came out in the arcade, there's been so much stuff that's been going on kind of like outside of the spotlight to get it so that, you know, the community is at where it's at today. You know, stuff like the first SoCal Regionals, like, side tournament, and then, like, Revelations, and then the Evo side tournament last year. And so, yeah, Oscar, I wanted to ask you, like, since you had a hand in, you know, organizing some of this stuff, could you give us some insight into, like, all the stuff that's been going down, like, way before Evo 2012, and, like, kind of how it all led up to this awesome weekend?
Yes, of course. You know, there's a lot of work that's been put in behind the scenes, and by a lot of people. You know, people like Gibby and the Dream Council staff, the Orochinagi staff, like Gunsmith, just to make this possible. You know, and just going back to the arcade release, I remember back in July of 2010. This was 2 years ago already. I mean, it's unbelievable. It was 2 years ago already. And I remember back at Arcade Infinity, when we saw the game for the first time, I'm sure that none of us, not a single one of us, imagined that within 2 years we would be at Evo with over 800 participants on the main stage, chanting and going nuts for this game. So, you know, I'm really thrilled. I'm really happy. But yeah, there was a lot of work. For example, when the Arcade Infinity closed, we didn't know what was going to happen with the arcade system. Some people from the East Coast wanted to buy it. Some other personal collectors wanted to buy it. But I said, you know what? If somebody from the East Coast buys this, or another private collector, you know, gets a hold of it, we're probably never going to see the game again till console comes out. And we didn't even know at that time if there was going to be a console release for this. So what I ended up doing, I bought the system myself and put it at Alex's Arcade here in Santa Ana to, you know, keep the scene alive and to still host some tournaments. I remember having small tournaments at Arcade Infinity, which eventually we moved to Alex's Arcade, and then from there it started growing. The next thing you know, we're at SoCal Regionals with the arcade machine. And the main stage, we had a little side tournament. So we only had one system, one setup. It was my board. No, wait a minute. It wasn't my board. It was Gibby's board from SNK Playmore. And then it was my cap. And for those of you guys who can remember, we streamed the finals, but it was through a webcam. So I remember Frank was standing in the back with a webcam over our shoulders, streaming the top 4, I believe. So I mean, little things like that, you know, makes you think like, man, we've gone a long way. And then we had Revelations. Again, we used the one system for that. We had a super gun by then, so it was a lot easier for us to stream directly. And then we had the Evo side tournament. That was a huge turnout there. I wasn't expecting. I think we had like, how many people we had? Like 80 people show up for the side tournament at
Yeah,
Evo.
we had like 70 something people, and like that was fairly impressive because a lot of them were also international players.
Yeah. So I was like, whoa, that was a bigger turnout than what I expected. I was expecting like 32 people tops to show up, and then we had 80. It was like very impressive. And that's where we found out the console version was going to be changed, and then we had an opportunity to see all the changes because we had Atlas there with a demo version, so we were all very excited about it too. So you know, little things like that that people don't notice, or people don't know, or people don't remember anymore, but it's been a long way. And if it wasn't for those things that happened, Evo probably would have never happened, you know, because all those small tournaments turned into major tournaments, into more major events, and then finally Evil decided, hey, there's so much hype going around in this KOF tournaments, probably gonna have to bring it here.
Exactly. KOF for 2013, baby.
I have no doubt that KOF it's gonna be returning to Evo, especially after all the hype around it, the number of signups. I think we had the third most signups, right?
Yep,
general.
the third most signups.
Yeah, because Mortal Kombat had like 200 or 300 people. Soul Calibur had like less than 200, and then Street Fighter Cross Tekken was it even there? Was it even at Evo?
Cross Tekken was there.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You didn't even notice.
Remember, right?
You didn't notice.
I thought they canceled it or something. Right.
I think they ran it in the morning or something. Like, I don't know.
No, you know what's really funny about Street Fighter Cross Tekken is that before Evo, the total number of teams entered was 896, just one away from 895.
That's number of teams, though, so that's technically like 1,700 registered players, but yeah, that's a lot of people.
I think a lot less people showed up than that.
Yeah.
For Street Fighter Cross Tekken. So yeah, man, just throughout the years, I remember when I first attended Evo. For many people who don't know this, I've been going to Evo for 8 years now. I think it's 9 years now, back since 2003. And I've never participated at Evolution till today. Every time I attended was to get casuals with people in KOF. I remember taking my system and just, setting up there, having side tournaments. And for many, many years, I dreamed of this day that we were going to be able to be part of the actual event. So I'm really happy that I finally got a chance to participate at Evo after all these years.
That's awesome, man. And, even though, even for myself, I've only been, supporting KOF since, I guess, Arcade came out around here. I've obviously spent a lot less time than some of you guys like Gibby and yourself and Gunsmith. But, this year was just so emotional. Especially when, right before the top 8, everyone just started chanting, like Juicebox was mentioning earlier. That chant was just it's just kind of like that moment where you realize, oh wow, we're finally here. This is KOF 13 top 8 at Evo, and that was just kind of the moment where I felt wow, from the beginning of the journey to the end is come full circle, So that was
magical.
Awesome. It really was. It kind of was.
It's unbelievable how time flies. I'm saying, back when this game came out and we were at Arcade Infinity, I never imagined that we would be there at Evo. It's just unreal, and I'm super thrilled. I'm super excited. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I also do want to talk about the future though, because a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, KOF 13 is a shoe-in for Evo 2013 and all that, but I mean, I don't believe that that's the appropriate attitude to take regarding our community.
I guess technically it's not true, but
Yeah, I mean, it's because a year is a long time. A lot of stuff can happen in a year. Street Fighter Cross.
We have a few more games. Yeah, we have a few more games coming out this year too, like Persona 4, the rumored Darkstalkers 4.
Yeah, exactly. And with all this stuff going on, we should, as a community, I think we should definitely keep that in mind. That a game like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which was super hype at the day it came out, but then basically died within a few months. I mean, that can happen to any game if the community is not there to support it.
That is true.
I think that moving forward, even though we're in a great position right now, I honestly think that out of any game in terms of momentum and hype building and all that kind of stuff, KOF is in the best possible position. But I think we need to be able to take advantage of that and continue the hype going into next year and this next Evo season. So for anybody listening, now is the time. Throw some local tournaments. Get your friends into the game. Just make it even bigger than it has been. And I think as long as everybody is committed to doing that in their local communities, then we're going to see a great triumphant return next summer for Evo 2013. Do you guys have any thoughts regarding that?
Juicebox, why don't you go first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, just thinking about the future release games. I wasn't even thinking about Darkstalkers, so thanks for that one answer. Because that's still a rumor. But
Virtua
Ono kind of
Fighter,
sort of
Dead
not
or
really
Alive
maybe.
5. Yeah.
Yeah, but we got Tekken Tag 2 coming out. We got Persona. The Skullgirls community, I mean, could technically grow and stuff like that. I don't think Street Fighter and Marvel are going anywhere. But the idea is we don't know if Evo's going to run 5 or 6 games next year. I mean, technically they could run 4 or 7. I don't think it's likely. But it depends on if they're going to run 5 or 6 games. If they run 6 games, I could see Persona and Tekken Tag being there. Also KOF. And then, let's see, Persona, Tekken Tag, KOF, Street Fighter, and Marvel. Like, that's what I hope happens if it's 5 games. But, we can't guarantee that. So, like you said, best to make sure, we grow the community and we let everyone know about all the cool KOF stuff going on, like the Super Arcade, Wednesday night fights, the run back, making sure everybody's watching that, any other KOF streams that exist like mine and Answers, just spreading the word. And, if anybody wants to learn, that there's resources for them to learn. And, and there's awesome, cool KOF stuff happening every week,
That is true. And I want to add to that there's a perfect example. Look at the Blaze Blue community. I'm not sure if you guys, remember what happened back when the official lineup was announced. So pretty much they stopped supporting major events and their local events too. So there was not much hype around it. They were not showing enough interest. So they were dropped from the lineup. But once they were dropped from the Evo lineup, that's when they all started making noise, trying to get their attention. Like, hey, why did you guys drop us from the lineup? And it was very easy for Mr. Wizard and the rest of the Evo staff to answer and say, hey, you guys not been supporting your major events. I remember going to NEC last year, I think it was November, December, and the KOF tournament, being 2 weeks old, I remember, had more entrants than the Blaze Blue tournament. Blaze Blue had like 20-something or 30-something participants, and KOF had like 60-something entrants. So definitely, even not just because your game was at Evo the previous year, like Blaze Blue was there, it means that it's automatic, and it's a good game, it's automatically going to be there at next Evo. There's a lot of players, there's a lot of communities that want their game at Evo because it means a lot. So as long as we continue to support the event, as long as we continue to do our, weekly streams, our local events, and supporting them, I'm sure we can be at Evo 2013.
Oscar, talking about Blaze Blue, that kind of reminds me a bit about the whole Melty Blood tournament that was at Evo. I think it was that a year ago?
Man.
It was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Damn. But yeah, I mean, it was there, and then what happened? It wasn't there last year. It wasn't there this year. And, I don't know if it's based on the community or the game itself or whatever, but yeah, I do believe that the community helps, the games get at Evo. You know what I'm saying? If no one's playing your game, if you're not supporting your game, then why should it be on the main stage? Like it's very obvious. So basically, for KOF, what we need to do, we need to just keep standing behind it, keep supporting it, keep playing it, keep studying the game, and throughout these tournaments throughout the year before Evo, people need to show up and play, and it'll be there again. So basically, you have to show up and play, support your community, hype it up, and it will be at Evo. It takes time. It can't just be there automatically. You know what I'm saying? It takes work and effort and dedication from the community itself to have it there.
Yeah, and not just because it's a good game. Like a lot of people say, oh, it's a good game. It's going to be there. No, it takes more than just being a good game.
Yeah.
We have a lot of good games out there. We have Virtua Fighter 5 coming out. Persona 4 is looking really good. Dead or Alive 5, it's very promising too. So we have a ton of good games out there. But what's going to make the difference here is the community and the support.
Yeah, exactly. Even if the game has like good netcode, I know this is probably a little controversial, but it still doesn't matter. I mean, no matter how good the game is, no matter how beautiful the netcode is, you still need people to play with. Either locally going to regional tournaments or whatever. You gotta hype it up. No matter how bad the netcode is, we survived, right? We got the game at Evo or whatever, even though the netcode is on the is so or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like Arcana Heart 3, Blaze Blue or whatever. Those games have incredible netcode or whatever, but they're not at Evo, and they're still having trouble running those tournaments at some like kind of more of like regional majors or whatever. They the people still run them, but there isn't as hype as a lot of other games are like KOF.
That's a
I
good
think
point.
there's one other variable here too. We can't forget about developer support. I mean, NetherRealm was out in force. They brought us, basically a bunch of footage for Injustice, another game I forgot about.
Well, there you go.
Injustice could be at Evo 2013. So what we need to remember also is Atlas was there. Atlas not only brought us shirts, and they wrote that letter to Dream Cancel, but let's not forget Atlas is publishing Persona 4 in North America. So if Persona 4 is going to be at Evo or MLG and other fighting game events and stuff like that, we can expect the developer support from Atlas to continue. And we can be pretty sure that Capcom will always support their games as far as Evo is concerned and other tournaments. So developer support plays another large role, and I think like NetherRealm, is showing how serious they are. And fortunately, because Atlas is publishing Persona 4, if we keep up our stuff, Atlas will probably see that it's still worth supporting the KOF scene, as far as Evo is concerned,
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Atlas has been tremendous in terms of helping the community and like really communicating well with us too. So shout outs to Atlas. I hope they continue doing that. Now moving on though, I do want to bring up the one kind of controversial thing that happened at Evo this year during Top 8. It's kind of been talked about a lot, just among like our own little community groups and things like that, and like on Facebook. But basically during Top 8, there was obviously a very large Spanish-speaking audience this year at Evo, which is one of the reasons why it was so hype. That was amazing. Some of the chanting was just so great, like when they were just chanting for Bala, going like "Si se puede," or it was just like inspiring and like just awesome. But then there were some other ones that some people were a little offended by, like namely like I guess Culero. Was
Culero.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. Oscar, do you think you can enlighten us?
Well, yes, and I'm very happy that you bring up this point because at a point of after Evo, I found out that the Korean community was not happy because of some of the chanting that was going on, like culero that was going on. First and foremost, culero, the direct, if we can say, translation for culero could be something like asshole, but it has many different uses. So it doesn't have to mean, oh, this person is an asshole. It could be very well as, oh, it's a bad guy. He's a bad guy, like an evil person. So in Spanish, it could mean so many different things, but unfortunately in English, it only has like one meaning. So I'm glad you bring up this point because we wanted to issue an apology, but not for the things that were said, and but most importantly for the misunderstanding. So I've talked to a few players from the community and key members from the Mexican community too about this issue, and honestly, nobody feels like there should be an apology for the things that were said, but more of an explanation. So just to keep it brief, to keep it short, the things that were said were not meant to hurt somebody, were not meant to offend anybody. And let's get this out of the way first and foremost. It's not racial thing. So let's not even go there in the first place. It's just to get the opponent, out of this whole, out of the loop, trying to throw him off. Somebody on a Facebook group said, you know what, the Korean players are the visitors. So, the crowd, it's going to try to throw them off. It's something like professional sporting events, and at a sporting event, you don't want to see the visitor team come and win, right? And you don't see the fans cheering for them. You see the fans cheering for the home team. So it's the whole psychological warfare. I like that word. I saw that. I want to use it. So that we gotta, the player's job is to perform and to do his thing on the game, on the field, and then the crowd, the fans, they want to be involved too. They want to feel part of it. Unfortunately, they're not able to press the buttons or move the joystick for their competitor. What's the best way? Trying to throw off your opponent. Make sure he doesn't feel welcome. Make sure he doesn't feel like he wants to win.
So I just want to interject a little bit here. I mean, obviously we're the community at large should be fairly familiar with, chanting for their hometown hero and all that. There's a lot of chanting among all games, whether it be Marvel, Street Fighter, what have it. But I guess one thing that I'd like to understand is so this term Colero, first off, I've heard from a lot of Mexican players that it's chanted at even a lot of soccer games and just sporting events in general. Is that correct?
The Olympics, soccer games, sporting events, baseball games. I mean, anything. It's just the way that the Mexican community supports their team and tries to throw off their opponent.
And would you think it's fair to say that, let's say hypothetically it wasn't Mad KOF in the grand finals. Let's say it was a player from France or from Japan let's say Reynold was up there. Do you think this chanting would still just happen? It's not specifically because of the Korean players or anything like that.
It's not specifically to the Korean players. If it would have been somebody from Japan, somebody from France, from whatever, except Reynolds. If it would have been Reynolds, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have happened because Reynolds is kind of like one of us.
Reynolds an honorary Mexican, right?
Yeah. But if it would have been anybody else, I'm sure it would have happened. No questions about it. If it would have been Fox from France, it would have happened. If it would have been Yan from Taiwan, it would have happened. Oepu from Jam from Taiwan, it would have happened. Oepu from Japan, same thing, same scenario. No,
for sure. And
no specific.
Yeah,
here.
I'd also like to say I had the pleasure of meeting, most of the Cafe id. By the way, just for everyone listening, they prefer to be called Cafe id. We just pronounce it ID because we're American and we think, ID, but it's actually pronounced Cafe id. But I had the pleasure of meeting a lot of those guys over the weekend. I met a lot of the Mexican players as well, and I mean, it's remarkable how open and just how friendly everyone is. They treat you like they're friends, on both sides, and everyone just has this raw passion just for the community and the game. Everyone just loves KOF, and I think that's what's important to point out is that there really isn't any actual hostility. There's nothing personal going on, and that, like you said, Oscar, all of this, the controversy just arose from this misunderstanding, and I hope that everyone, Dream Council in general hopes that the international KOF community can move forward and with better understanding of each other in the future.
One thing I would like to say about that is, as far as it being a misunderstanding and or whatever, do you still think from what was said an apology still is needed? Because we all come from different cultures. You know what I'm saying? What's offensive to one culture may not be offensive to another culture. If somebody does the OK sign and somewhere else, that's offensive.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? But do you still think, even though it was misunderstood or whatever, or or what have you, do you think an apology is still is needed, even though it was a misunderstanding or whatever? Sorry that it offended you, even though it was a misunderstanding, Oscar?
For the misunderstanding, we do apologize, and that's why there was an explanation needed. But for the things that were said, unfortunately, we cannot apologize, because if we apologize, it would mean that we truly mean to call him an asshole. It would mean that we really mean to offend him, but we didn't. It's all in the hype of the event, to cheer our home team.
So you're saying it was all just lighthearted in the moment?
not in the moment, because it's not planned, but it's something that's gonna happen. It's not in the moment.
And, what? I feel as though I feel as though I have something special to say here. You know how people get annoyed when I do that ultra dance sometimes?
Oh, okay.
This is the same thing, all right? I'm gonna do it regardless because for me, I am in the moment. I'm enjoying myself. I psych myself up. It gives me something to do while that ultra animation's going on. I mean, no disrespect to my opponent whatsoever. It's something that I do for myself. So in the case of, culero, it's just something that the Mexican fans do at sporting events when they're cheering somebody on. It was not meant to be racist. Was not meant to be exclusive. Was not meant to be derogatory in any form. It's just the way that they cheer on the people that they cheer on.
That's true. That's exactly what I'm saying here. And another reason why we cannot apologize this time, it's because next year it's just gonna be louder.
Oh boy.
All right, well, just so you know we're all on the same page, there is an apology for the misunderstanding. Nobody was meant to be offended or anything like that, and, hopefully we can all be friends moving forward. And you know what I'd really like to see? I'd really like to see a huge, Korean contingent next year, and I hope they come up with their own chants. That would be hype.
You know what, David? Really quick. At the beginning of the year, back in February, I myself went to France, and I got a chance to play against some of the hometown heroes like Fox. I remember this one night they invited me to the money match room. I walk in this room and there's 20 something people and they're all French players, and I was gonna play against their hometown hero. And all I can remember, there were all sorts of things being yelled at while we were playing. Unfortunately, I couldn't understand anything, but now that I think about it, I didn't think anything of that moment. For me, it was normal. I mean, their hometown hero, it's playing against their opponent, and for me it was natural. Oh yeah, they have to cheer him up. I have no idea what they're saying. I'm just here to do my job. I'm just here to whoop his ass, and that's it. If they want to cheer him, they want to say shit. But at the end of the night, I beat Fox 5-2 or 5-3. But after that, everybody, we were all friends. We're all happy. We're all laughing together. It was nothing personal.
You were the bad guy in that situation.
Yeah, I've been on the receiving end, and it's okay, and I understand. And the same way, I expect other people to understand how our community behaves.
Awesome, dude. Well, that's great. I think we've definitely cleared the air. At least I hope we have. We do have an upcoming interview with KOFXIII, which we're planning on posting on Dream Cancel sometime in the near future. So hopefully we'll be able to hear their perspective on all this as well. And yeah, Desmond, I think we're kind of getting up there in terms of the time for this episode. So I just want to give you guys an opportunity to say anything else you guys might want to say, add any other, any other comments you guys might have about Evo 2012, the KOF community in general.
Or some shout-outs. Yeah,
shout-outs, definitely.
Juicebox, why don't you go first?
Okay. Let's see. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at Juicebox_FGC. And I also have a stream at twitch.tv/JuiceboxAbel, where I stream King of Fighters 13 most of the time. And Street Fighter 4 sometimes, and some other games. I'm not quitting Street Fighter 4. The fire there has sort of been reinvigorated. But I am still focusing on King of Fighters. And I do plan to be playing it, into the next year, hopefully up to the next Evo, to do my best there. Shout outs to, everyone who registered for KOF at Evo. I appreciate you, and I appreciate, the growth from the scene that's going to be coming from that. Shout outs to Atlas for doing all the excellent job supporting us. Shout outs to the KOF community sites like dreamcancel.com, orochanagi.com. Shout outs to Major League Gaming for giving our game a chance in the past and hopefully giving our game a chance again in the future. Let's see. That sounds just about right to me. Your turn, Answer.
All right. Well, I want to send a shout out to everybody who showed up to Evo to participate, who signed up, not just for the shirt, but to participate at the event. If it wasn't for those players who show up without knowing what's going to happen, without expecting to make top 64, top 32, top 16, or top 8, if it wasn't for those players, we would not be able to have such a great event like it was Evo. And I'm sure, you know, a lot of players go out there and just, you know, have fun, and you know, want to make sure that they know that we acknowledge them, because we need those players that show up just expecting nothing out of it, just for the fun and because they love King of Fighters. Also, shout outs to the Evo staff for having, you know, KOF, you know, finding my dream king through of being a participant at Evo. Shout outs to Atlas for supporting the event for so long, for supporting the game. Shout out to Dream Cancel, to Orochi Nagi for promoting the event all these years. And shout outs to you guys for, you know, having this podcast and you know, giving us an opportunity to share our thoughts and our feelings on the whole event.
No problem, man. Thank you guys for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Desmond, do you have any closing remarks?
Well, thanks to Juice and Oscar for being on the show. I think shout outs to everyone on Dream Council. Shout outs to everyone on Orochinaji. Shout outs to all the stream monsters that watch Evo. Shout outs to the people that are in the DC chat when we were watching Evo. Man, shout outs to everybody I know. I think
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's about it, man. I hope everyone enjoys this episode.
I have one more.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
go right ahead, man.
I have one more very special shout out for the whole Mexican KOF community, not just the KOF community, but the fighting game community. I'm just gonna call it the Mexican fighting game community now from now on, because we had a player named Fruitsy made top 8 in Marvel.
Yo, shout outs to Modoc.
Yo, shout out there. Shout outs to the whole Mexican fighting game community. Much love. And I'm so happy that a lot of them put a huge effort to come out to Evo, because for a player to come out to Evo from Mexico, it financially, you know, it's a burden, and I'm happy that so many of them, you know, made the effort to come out here. Shout out to all of you guys. Thank you so much for coming out here and supporting the KOF players and the Marvel players here.
Totally. Shout outs to everyone, of course. And, you know, same thing to all the international players. I'm sure it was also very difficult for KOFXIII and the Taiwanese players to be joining us and the French players. So thank you guys so much for being at Evo. We'll definitely see you all next year. To all of our listeners here on Dream Cancel, if you guys have requests for future episodes, future guests for the podcast, or even interviews that you want to see conducted, just hit us up in the comments. You know, hit us up in the podcast threads. We'll listen to you guys. Like, just tell us whatever you guys want to hear, and we'll put it out there for you. So, yeah, thank you guys once again for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
No problem. See you later, David. Thanks for having me.
See you
No
guys
problem,
later.
David.
Thank you.
All right, peace, everyone.